I should do this. I should have more money. I should be at a different place. I should be in this. And then we just shit all over ourselves, right? And that never gets us anywhere except for a place, maybe the couch with a bag of chips, because we feel so bad about ourselves and there's pain and we want to numb that out, right?
What is the story you tell yourself about yourself? Guys, we all have one. And as cheesy as it has become to say, we really are the authors of our own lives. We choose to interpret situations based on our perspective, and then that's the story we tell ourselves. Here's an example. Scenario 1. The guy turns to his partner and says, "Honey, you look so beautiful today." In which she responds, "Oh, thanks, baby, that's so sweet." Scenario 2. The guy turns to his partner and says, "Honey, you look so beautiful today." In which she responds, "What are you trying to say? I don't normally look this good?" We choose our own interpretations. We choose the genre of our lives. We choose to make our story a drama, a comedy, or an action, or a thriller. But guys, isn't that the best freaking news? If we have the ability to take a situation and write our own meaning behind it, that means we also have the capability of rewriting our perspectives. All those beliefs you have that you can't do it, or you shouldn't do it, the things you should and shouldn't say, the things you should and shouldn't be, screw the shoulds and shouldn'ts. You get to write the life you want. And so today's Woman of Impact is our pen, if you will, a woman who has lived the opposite to a Hallmark screenplay. She came from an insanely traumatic upbringing filled with drugs and alcohol addiction, poverty, abuse, and mental illness. She had no support, no money, and heartbreakingly, she became suicidal. But after hitting rock bottom, she finally realized that the stories we tell ourselves create our reality. And so she just decided to rewrite hers. And it was with that belief, that practice, that she now proudly stands as best-selling author and founder and CEO of the Institute of Transformational Nutrition, where she combines science, psychology, and spiritual practices to help tens of thousands of clients, ranging from stay-at-home mums to celebrities to Fortune 500 CEOs, to rewrite their story, screw the shoulds, get unstuck, and as a result, transform their lives. So guys, please help me in welcoming the woman who is featured everywhere, from The Doctors, Dr. Phil, The Today Show, Revenge Body with Khloe Kardashian, Harper's Bazaar, and Shape magazine. One of the most incredible humans on the planet, my girl, Cynthia Garcia.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. I'm like looking, who's she talking about?
Welcome back to the show, girl.
I know, this is take 2.
Yeah, it's been like a year. Our last conversation, we went really deep into not being a victim. Your story is just so freaking incredible. If anyone is listening and wants to know your story, go check out that episode because we go deep and you really reveal a lot. Yeah. So right now we've had a really tough year. And so that's where I want to start with. People have a belief system about what last year was, how traumatizing it was. And I actually want to kick off with a quote of yours that I really found powerful. And it really comes down to, connects with the perception. Mm-hmm. I am not a victim. I am not a survivor. I'm just a woman figuring out how to do the best she can with the hands she has been dealt. Mm-hmm. So again, right now, people are thinking about what happened last year. They're telling themselves a story. Mm-hmm. But that quote really does sum up how you can frame things.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of take a step back, if we could, the perspective that we have, which is made up of stories that we've told ourselves since childhood, is what shaped our last year. So as you know, a lot of people did struggle. A lot of people suffered. A lot of people are still struggling and suffering. Let's not negate that. Yeah. And at the same time, there are people who are thriving in this environment. And the reason why I know, just based in narrative psychology, that it is because of these stories that we've told ourselves. What I know is that our past is creating our present. And if we're not careful, it will also create our future. But just like you said, the exciting part of that is that we have an opportunity to change it. And that's what lights me up every day, keeps me going, motivates me to get up and do the work that I do every day. And when I hit rock bottom, that's kind of the breakthrough that I had. It's like, wait a second, because I went outside, Lisa, to everyone to try to fix me, and no one could. And that's because it's an internal job. Right? Oftentimes we look for solutions outside of ourselves. It's very normal. We all do it. We go to the sage on the mountain. We go to the nutritionist. We go to the author. We go to, the guru. We buy the books. We buy the planners. We invest in the strategies. We jump on a podcast to say, what is Lisa Bilyeu doing to be so successful? Let me do that. But that's the problem. We are looking for external solutions to an internal issue. And when we can go there, that's when everything starts to change.
Do you think then, wow, this is in real time really thinking about it, do you think then that's been part of what has really hit hard for a lot of people over this last year? Because so many people have been masking by going external, by going to these retreats, going on holiday, going out, going to restaurants, hanging with friends, all these different things. And now you can't. Do you think that has then really been like what has been the most detrimental to
120 billion%. That's the thing. And I've told people about this since this started. Here's what's happening. We use distractions, right? Now, you mentioned some of them: going out, drinking, being with friends. I just want to forget this week happened. Let me just go do these things. And those are some of the things, right? But there are other things too. There are other things that people do on an everyday basis when they find themselves stuck, right? Like stuck in a rut. So we'll buy the latest high performance planner. We will create a new morning routine. We'll color code. As I said before, we'll adopt the latest and greatest strategies, and we'll do all of those things, but we never get to, again, the real issue, and we never go inside. So what's happened is now that those things have been taken away, all the external things, and no one feels like buying a new planner or color coding. Like some people haven't bought a 2021 planner. We're just going to see how things go for a little bit, right? Like we're not even investing in that. But as a result, we're left sitting at home by ourselves, with ourselves. And for many people, that is a very scary place to be, because all the thoughts come up, all the stories come up, and there is no way to escape them, right? And it's hurtful, it's painful.
Wow, yeah. So how do you start to, in my head, I kind of visualize it like because you even said it's like amped up. Almost like a release valve. So what would you say is that release valve, and how do we start to activate it?
Well, I think, first of all, it's making a decision to, which sounds very flippant, I understand. But let's talk about that for a second. Decide, right? It literally means to cut off any other options. And so a lot of times we'll say we decide to do something, and we don't. We just don't. We're not really making a real decision. And so when you make the decision to do something differently, to cut off all of these other things so that I can just do this, you really made a decision. So I think it's that. And then I think the second thing is just acknowledging that you're going to have to get uncomfortable with discomfort, because that's what's involved. That's what true transformation is. And we don't really want to do that. It's easier to drink. It's easier to eat. It's easier to buy the planner, right? It's easier to hop on Clubhouse and listen to what the people there are saying and take their advice. But it's much harder when we have to confront ourselves, because it's so personal.
So, wow, yeah. So really, and you've echoed this a lot in just, the first few minutes that we've been talking, is the fact that there's a big separation between wanting to making all the moves and then actually doing it. So I love what you said about like the buying the planners and going on Clubhouse. Like that really hits me, because is it that we're doing that then to make us feel better, but we're not actually then progressing? And if that's the case, how do we stop from just feeling like we're doing something and actually doing it? So how do you actually get unstuck? Not like bullshit unstuck.
Right.
How do you actually get unstuck?
So the answer to the question you ask is yes and no. Are we doing that because it makes us feel good? Yes and no. Yes, it makes us feel good because we think we're getting ahead, but no, it actually doesn't, because we're really not, right? Yeah, no, for sure. It's like we'll do all the things. We'll read things like, to be successful, you have to join the 5 a.m. club and get up at 5. So we set our alarm clocks earlier and we do that. But here's the problem, right? These stories that we've told ourselves for so long, they run at an unconscious level. So it's not that you mean to set the alarm and then sleep through it. It's not that you don't have the intention of building a successful business, of creating a strong relationship, of showing up differently for your children. But you have these unconscious triggers that kick in to keep you safe, to protect you. And that's how you've lived most of your life. It's certainly how I've lived most of mine. And so the crazy thing is, you don't really have a say-so in the matter. Right? Look, I work with high performers all the time. I work with predominantly female leaders, and they know they're meant for more. They know that they are just killing it. But if their mindset was as strong as their dreams, they'd be running the world by now. No doubt about it. But the thing that keeps them stuck are these untold, unrecognized, unvisited, if you will, stories. So let me give you an example of that, because I think sometimes it helps to put it into perspective. Yeah. So when I was 8 years old, I woke up on my 8th birthday, as excited as a girl on her 8th birthday. I was just like, yes, my birthday. And we were very poor. You mentioned that in the introduction, but we didn't often have food. And so anyways, I get up on my 8th birthday. I'm super excited, and I don't say anything because, but I didn't really think I'd get a present, but I thought maybe a little cake, maybe a little something, or just to feel special, like any girl or fella wants to do on their birthday. And so the day goes on, and I keep thinking about it, and I keep waiting for a little surprise or a little, something, and nothing happens. And it's getting late into the evening now, and it's starting to get dark outside. And I'm a little worried. I'm starting to panic a little bit in my little 8-year-old mind. And so I go to my mom, and I just blurt it out because I'm 8. And I say, do I get a present? And she gave me the strangest look. And she said, why would you get a present? And I said, well, because it's my birthday. And she looked at me and she said, so? And in that moment, I wrote a story. And the story said, you're not special. You don't deserve anything. And when your mama forgets your birthday, it's a pretty good indication that you don't matter. You're not special. So for the rest of my life, I told myself that story. I said, you're not special. You don't deserve anything. When I applied for the job and didn't get it, it was because I wasn't special and I didn't deserve it. When I got stood up on the dates, it was because I wasn't special and I didn't deserve a good person in my life. I wasn't worthy of a boyfriend, for example. And that was devastating, and it held me back in a lot of ways. And it wasn't until I could go back, and when I did find something, Lisa, I would do everything I could to sabotage it because I didn't feel like I deserved it, like I was worthy of having it. Right? So, and I didn't realize until many years later that was a story that I'd written. I am not alone. You've written stories. Everyone watching has written these stories. Now, I forgot about that 8th birthday, but my body and my mind didn't. Right? So what we do is we create these beliefs, right? And so we hold ourselves back unconsciously. I didn't realize, this is me sabotaging this great relationship, because when I was 8 years old, I realized that I didn't deserve things. And so let me just recalibrate back down. I wasn't doing that consciously. It is an unconscious trigger. That's why I'm saying, we can choose to buy the planner. We can say we're going to create a new life. We can say we're making a decision and investing everything in this. But until you rewrite those underlying beliefs, it'll stop you every time. And you'll be so frustrated and so annoyed and just want to bang your head against a wall because you think, why can't I just get my shit together? What is wrong with me? Why can't I just stick to the diet? Why can't I just do literally somebody's in front of me showing me how to do it on YouTube, and I just won't do. What is wrong with me? And nothing is wrong with you. The fact is, you're just protecting yourself, and you've done this for years, right? And when we tell ourselves these stories and we create these beliefs, what we do then is we look for evidence that they're true, right? Because we need to be right. Because if we're not right, we're very unsafe, right? We're very, very unsafe. And as children, we just can't have that, which, by the way, the reason I didn't question what my mother was saying is because she's the authority figure. And if she's not right and she's wrong, I'm like this tall. That's a scary place for me to be. So children will always believe their parents, even when it's obvious to us as adults that it's not right. Children will believe that because they need you to stay safe, right? So, so again, we look for evidence to make these stories true. We spend our entire lives doing that until there is an interruption in that process, right? A pattern interrupt, and you decide consciously to retell those stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how did you then rewrite that story? How did you go back and even identify, oh, it was the moment that my mum said this to me.
Yeah.
So people are listening at home, maybe they figured out, okay, oh yeah, I always, people have been telling me, or I feel like I'm not special. Whatever that issue is that now we've hopefully helped them identify.
Right.
How would you now have them go back to figure out the very purpose and the core so that they can then start to unwind it?
Sure. I don't think it is a huge breakthrough that we're having here today that, oh, wow, we have limiting beliefs. I never knew, right? Like we know that. We know we have limiting beliefs, but we're still not getting to that root core. And I think that's a lot of what's wrong. And that's why people are stuck these days. And that's okay. Right now we can take that and move forward. And so the way I do that is through narrative psychology. So there's 2 requirements to do this work. 2. One is you have to be willing and you have to be ready. If you can't see it, you're not ready. Right? Now you might be willing, you might be like, no, show me how to make $1 million, right? But if you're not ready, it doesn't matter. You might be ready, but then not willing to do what it takes, right? Some of us say, oh no, I want to be as successful as Lisa. I am ready for that. Okay, then here's what that entails.
Oh yeah,
and I'm good, right? So there's 2 requirements. You can't wake someone up. You can preach, and I have coaches that do this, and I've seen experts who do this, like, Lisa, get it together. What do you mean you can't make it? Of course you can make $1 million. What is wrong with you, right? But if that person isn't ready for that, you can't fix them. I've learned something throughout my life because I used to do this too. Because I look at people and I think, God, if you could see the you that I see, you would be in awe of yourself. You just would. But they don't, and I can't make them. And that's not my journey, and it's certainly not theirs, right? Now, they may get there, but it's not going to be because I'm forcing this idea down their throat, that I'm trying to project on them what I see in them, right? So what I learned a long time ago was let people be who they need to be and not who you want them to be. Because in time, if it's meant to be, they'll come around. They'll see Lisa, they'll see the show, they'll see Tom, they'll see someone who's like, I want that. And why is it that I think I can't have it? And I created this method called the Stuck Story coaching method. And so STORY is an acronym. And what it does is it helps you to go back and rewrite those stories. If you'd like, I'll take you through it.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
And what's the acronym?
So STORY, let me walk
so you're going to go, okay,
yeah, I'm going to take you
it.
through it. Let's go. And you can do this if you want. I'll give examples too so that it makes sense. So the S is for stuck. So where are you stuck, right? So think of an area in your life that you're stuck. So for some people, it could be a relationship. For some people, it could be money, financial, could be building their business, right? It could be health, it could be anything. Totally up to you. Where are you stuck? What do you want that you can't have? And then I want you to get really clear on that, right? Because some people say more money. I want to make more money. Okay, what does that mean to me? I want to make sure my bills are paid. I don't want to have to worry about paying my bills. Okay, great. And what else? It'd be nice to eat out, have good food, or just eat organic. Great. And what else? Right. And what else is a magic coaching question? Just a way to dive a little bit deeper.
Love that.
Yeah. So and what else? And so when we break it down, let's say this person says, you know what? I want to make $10,000 a month. Right? And it's not right or wrong. It's their thing. They could have said $1 million. They could have said 500. Doesn't matter. Great. You want to make $10,000 a month? Starting when? Right? So we're getting really clear here, you see. 3 months from now, I'm going to be making $10,000 a month. Great. So you get really clear, really specific on what you say like you want, right? And we can keep drilling down into that, but we won't. So the next part of this is to go to T, right? S-T. And that is the belief. Why do you believe you can't make $10,000 a month, right? Why do you believe that? Well, because I'm not smart enough, interesting. And tell me more about that. Well, I'm not like Lisa. I'm not, I just don't have it in me. I'm not good charismatically. I can't just show up and take ownership of something. I'm not that good. I'm just not as good. I'm not good enough to make that kind of money. okay, great, not good enough. So you land on that core belief, right? The next part of this is the original event. So what we're going to do is we're going to time travel a little bit. So just like writing a story, as you know, in stories, we do these things called flashbacks, right? And flashbacks are intended to give some context, some perspective, to tell a story, to let us in on something that we don't know, just looking here and sitting and having this conversation right now. So we're going to go back to the original event. And what I'm going to say to that person is I'm going to say, okay, great. So what's the earliest time in your life that you can remember feeling like you're just not good enough? What is the earliest time? Now, here's what people do. They'll say, well, last week, right? Because it's hard to like immediately say, well, when I was 4 years old, right? So what we typically tend to do is we start to wonder, because it's an easy way to approach something. I like to just play with the edges, play with the edges of these ideas. Because what we'll do sometime is we'll say things like, Lisa, why do you feel that way? And you're like, well, I don't know. I just do. But if Lisa herself can just wonder, I wonder. There's no stress. There's no pressure here to figure it out in this moment. And you just play around the edges. I wonder. It comes through. And that's the intention, right?
Yeah.
Because when we say things to ourselves like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is this? Why can't you get it together? Why are you so emotional right now? Like, this is crazy, right? Then it's like, whoa, right? It's like we're bullying ourselves into this, right? Whereas if you can just sit back and wonder and let it go and just play, then how much nicer is that? Because listen, let me tell you something. We are all hot messes. Like, and the sooner we can all acknowledge that, I know there's some people watching going, well, I mean, speak for yourself, Cynthia, right? Like, but it's true. You have your things.
Why do you say that? Is that to like not then judge yourself again?
To not judge yourself, to let it go, like to not look at me or to look at Lisa and be like, well, they have it together, and then put pressure on yourself so that you can be like us. Because listen, at the end of the day, I'm like struggling myself sometimes. But that's what it's about, right? That's what this life, this game is about. Like, we're in the Earth School. You might want to try taking the curriculum, right? If you were this enlightened being, you wouldn't be here doing the things, going through the stuff, right? And so you take what you can from that, you learn and you grow. And you do that by being gentle with yourself, right? When you feel like you're threatened, whether it's by someone else or from you, you will shut down. You will lock up. Your defenses will come into play, right? It's human nature. We all do that. So instead, take the opposite approach and it'll come through every time.
That's amazing. I feel like we haven't finished your story.
We have not finished.
So we've got to You're like, Lisa,
we're just at we're like halfway. We're just getting to the good part. Okay, so this is the original event. So you're going to say, okay, this feeling or this belief that you have of I'm not good enough. When do you remember feeling that way? Well, a couple weeks ago, I had a date. Person didn't show or they canceled. I wasn't good enough. Great. What else? What's another time you can remember? Because typically people go further back, and we may get through 10 stories until they say, oh, you know what? I remember, and this is a true story from one of my clients. She told me about this. She said, when I was young, I was about 7, my mom had me clean my room. And I cleaned my room. And I did the best I could. And to me, I was so proud. This room was spotless. I mean, I was killing it. And her mom comes in and looks around and says, well, what about that and that and that? And so in that moment, the story she said was, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough, right? And so let's say in this example I'm giving, that's what the situation is, right? Innocent. The mama probably did not have bad intentions. She was just trying to get the room clean. But that's not how we perceive that as children. So now I'm not good enough, okay? So here's what I want to break down really quickly. A belief is an equation. So remember I told you earlier, thoughts are not beliefs. Those are different. Okay, so let me break that down. So belief is made up of an equation. It's 3 E's. You've heard me say this before. There's the event that happened, the explanation you gave, and the emotions that you felt. So in this particular example, the event was the girl cleaned her room. The mama came in and said, what about this and this? That's all that happened, right? That's it. But the explanation is how the girl explained it. Because that's what stories are, Lisa, and you know this. We give meaning to events that don't have them, but we need to make sense of it, right? It's like, well, Lisa didn't text me back because she's busy. Or I could just say, well, Lisa didn't text me back because she's not interested in our friendship anymore, right? Either of those could go either way. But I can't just say, Lisa didn't text me back and let it go. Do you see what I'm saying? So we make up the story. We give an explanation to the event that happens, and then we feel emotion tied to that, right? And so in this situation, the girl felt immense sadness. She was so disappointed in herself. And that's what locks in a belief. An event happened, you give it an explanation, you feel an emotion, and then it anchors into your unconscious and will trigger to keep you safe, right? Because we don't like that feeling. That's not how we get around in the world. So that's the original event. Now we get to rewrite it, and that's what the R is. We get to rewrite the story. So I'm going to say to this client, I'm going to say, okay, so if we narrow it down to the event, the mother came in and said, what about that and that and that? What's another explanation you could give? This really happened. So my client thought about it, and she said, well, my mom's a perfectionist, you know, and she has these really high standards, and she wants me to have them too, because she really thinks that that's the way you make your way through the world, and that's the way you get great things. And honestly, that came from her dad. You know, he was in the military, things had to be just so. Anyway, so that's just how she is. And I was like, okay, well, that's just how she is. So then the event is just the event, right? And it's just your mom being your mom. Would you agree with me that you're not even in it? And she was like, yeah, no, it had nothing to do with me. It's about my mom. So now the explanation is different. So what are the emotions?
Yeah.
I think it's cool that my mom had high standards and tried her best to instill that in us so we could be good people. Great. So the emotions gone different, the explanation gone different. All you have is an event, and an event is not equal to a belief, right? So now that's gone. Now here's what we do. We say, tell me then evidence of when you are good enough, when you were good enough. If this isn't the belief anymore, give me some examples. And she gave me examples. You know, I started my own business. I put my kid through college. I did all of these things. So we want to gather evidence because we spent our whole lives gathering evidence in support of the other story. So let's spend just a few minutes gathering evidence for our new one, right? It's going to make it easier the next time we're triggered. So now we've rewritten the story. Next is the why, and this is a really important part, and a part that a lot of people get confused. So why stands for your new identity. Remember in the beginning, you told me where you were stuck, and we said we want to make $10,000 a month. That's where we're stuck. We can't make more money. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create the identity that makes $10,000 a month starting in 3 months. So how would that person act? How would they behave? When the alarm clock goes off every morning, what would they do? When things went sideways and it looked like they weren't going to get that money, they were about 9,000, but not quite at 10, what would they do, right? Would they kick it into high gear? They'd make it happen, right? Great, that's what you're going to do. That's how you're going to act. You are going to create this identity, right? You're going to act as if you're already the person who has this, because this is wild, but it's true. We know through neuroscience that your brain doesn't know the difference between something real and something that you're imagining.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
But actually, when you think about it, it makes complete sense because your brain is literally enclosed in a black box.
Doesn't know.
It takes sensors from your eyes, your ears, your touch, and it literally lives in a black box. And
Right.
it's saying, oh, you saw that, and it's interpreting, right? You heard that, it's interpreting.
Exactly. So act as if. And deeper than that, what have we been playing with here? Emotions. Feel as if. Right? It's why I'll tell my clients who want to make more money, I'll say, go to a really nice hotel, sit in the lobby, have a drink, like immerse yourself in that environment because it shifts your brain. Your brain starts to be like, oh, this is my reality. Now, what's going to happen is your brain will start to conspire to make that come true for you, right? Because here's where we get stuck, Lisa. We'll say, yeah, I want to make $10,000 a month, but I don't know how. You don't have to. You don't have to, because here's what happens. When you start acting as if you're already the person who has it, the how will fall into place because you will think differently. You will see opportunities differently. You will show up every day differently. So the how appears as a natural result of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So create a new identity. Now, here's the mistake that people make, because I think it's important to call this out, is people will just say, just choose a new identity, Lisa. If you want to do that thing, then just be the person who does that.
Right.
And as soon as you do that, and as soon as you try it, your brain, your unconscious is going to go back to that story and it's going to stop you every single time. Unless you rewrite the story that led you to believe that in the first place. Are you with me?
Yeah. And actually where I wanted to go, I didn't want to stop you, but it was so
No,
powerful
go.
on the rewriting of the story.
Yeah.
What if the story you're telling yourself is true?
Okay, so this is so good. I get so excited about this because when I was first doing the research in deep in neuroscience and brain science many years ago, I had someone say to me, what if the story doesn't have a happy ending?
Right. And
I was
that's
like,
very true. Yeah.
Shit, that's right? So what about that? So then I dug deeper, right? So here's what I need you to know about that. Not every story does have a happy ending. It doesn't, Lisa. My mother wasn't misunderstood. She knew exactly what she was saying when I was 8 years old. Now, I can have compassion and I can tell that story in a different way. And I can say, my mother, she didn't have a good example. They were homeless. Her mother had no idea how to be a good mother. So my mother, how was she supposed to know, right? And I can write that off. I wasn't even in it. Like Maya Angelou would often say, baby, you ain't even in it. Right? And oftentimes we're not. What people say and do has nothing to do with us, right? It's all about them. And so I co-opted that because most of the time we're not even in it. Or we could justify it if we want. It doesn't matter. Like I just said, my mom knew what she's saying, but she didn't. It's up to you. All your job is to write a new story, whether it's true or not, because the brain doesn't know the difference. We're not trying to save the world here, right? We're just trying to fix ourselves. We're rewriting a new story so we don't have to live like this anymore.
God, I love that. I knew you had an answer to it as well, by the way. I got a quote of yours, actually, that I wanted to read on going further down this unstuck path that we're on. Unconsciously, people remain stuck at the age they received the least amount of love.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. So talk to me about that and take me down that. And how do we use that once we figured it out? How do we use it to our advantage to then get unstuck?
So it's true. These traumatic experiences or impactful events, if you like that term better, and just really quickly, I'll point out trauma is relative, right? So what might be, good question, what might be traumatic to you, I might take it in stride.
Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah.
And what might be traumatic to me, you'd be like, Cynthia, right? Sexual abuse, traumatic. Being bullied in school, traumatic. A breakup is traumatic for a lot of people, right? The pandemic, traumatic, right? But we don't judge traumas. We don't say, well, your trauma is so much worse than mine. Who am I to feel trauma over a silly breakup in high school? Well, you're you, and that's relevant to you, and you're 100% justified in feeling that, right? So we don't compare traumas. Whatever's traumatic to you is traumatic to you, the end, right? Some people don't like trauma, so I'll call it impactful events, big events in your life, right? Divorce, whatever. But the point is, these experiences that happen, if we're not feeling love, then we're feeling pain. Now, what we know is that as humans, our number one goal is to survive, right? You know this. Your body will shut down everything in an effort to stay alive. And so at these moments where we've experienced the least love, we typically experience the most pain. And so your body will take over and it'll store these things so that you remember it again next time, right? It's why when you see an animal that's been abused and they kind of shy away, they don't know you, they're a little suspicious, they're protecting themselves. We do the same thing as humans.
Which I guess is why, they always say, like, allow your kid to make the failures and falls, because they'll learn. They'll never listen if you're just like, don't do that.
Yeah.
They'll fall, they'll hurt themselves, and then they'll remember that it hurt and they won't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a story, right? That's a story that we write. Like I was working with one woman and she desperately wanted a relationship. But when she was like in third grade, I think it was like maybe third grade, she had a crush on a boy and she told her friend and her friend told the boy and then her friend got the crush on him and then her friend got the boy. So her thing now, she told that story and that was preventing her to this day from having deep relationships with other women because she was afraid that she would be stabbed in the back. It wasn't even conscious, right? It wasn't until we did this stuck story process, used this model, that she was able to go back and realize like, whoa, that was me doing that thing. And so that's the other thing I want to say as we wrap this up with the stuck story is that when we do this, I want to be clear on the outcome and your expectations. Yeah. So it's not like when we rewrite this story, you are in this example that we gave, you're just never, ever going to feel like you're not good enough. Like from that moment on, you were just course corrected.
Right. I'm good. I've changed my story.
I still have it come up for me. I still have the little, I'm not special thing come up for me. All these years later, I literally wrote the method. Like I've written the book and I still have it. But here's what I do now. I do what you did. I say, what? Oh, that's me telling that story again, but I know better. It's okay. ego. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Unconscious. I got this.
Yeah.
Right. And you move through it really quickly. And there's some stories I've rewritten that don't even trigger me anymore. But I want to be realistic, right? And I don't want people to do this and think, oh, that didn't work. You have to continue to I mean, you've told yourself this story for how many years now, right? You're just training yourself. You're creating new neurological pathways in your brain, new trains of thought, so to speak, so that it does become more automatic and it gets easier over time.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. I love that you said that. So actually what I want to ask is, I tell myself a story that I'm stupid.
Yeah.
So I know where it's come from. I've done the work. I realize how and where it's come from, and that I carry it into adulthood. It used to hold me back, and it used to make me feel really shitty about myself. It really, it was the story that I was telling myself, Lisa, you're too dumb. Helped build $1 billion business, still telling myself I'm too dumb. Keep going, build impact theory. And I still every so often have that voice. Now, here's the thing though, Cynthia. I know it's my power. It went from, it was very detrimental to me.
Yeah.
It made me feel badly about myself, and it only tore me down. And over time, now that I've actually built other confidence,
Yes.
I sometimes deliberately tap into that old story to push me to get better.
Yeah, so remember, it lives in your unconscious, no matter if you've rewritten it or not. And we can access that anytime we want to. And I know what you mean. Like, I did the same thing. Sometimes people will say, how did you go from living in a house with rats and no food and no running water to where you are now, right? Like, this great life that you live. And for a long time, I didn't know. I would just say, well, I just did the work. I did what everybody else does. I showed up, I worked hard, and which is not really the answer, right? It really was me rewriting my stories. I'm writing my memoir now. And what I realized is that when I was young, I would create these almost alternate realities for myself. So when I would leave our dark, cold, dingy house and I would go into the woods behind my house and I would sit there, it wasn't just woods, by a river where river rats were up on the bank, but it was a garden. And it was a beautiful, luxurious garden. And I was out there while my parents were off traveling to Paris or...
That's the story, yeah.
That was the story, right? So it brought me out of that reality. Now, conversely, just like you, I'll use that to motivate myself. I'll show them. Right? I'll show them I can do this. I'll show them that I'm not stupid. So I worked on like the opposite of that, just like you. The difference is, that you're doing it and it is a conscious move, right? When you're not operating from that place, then that's almost being a victim. Well, it is being a victim to these unconscious beliefs and stories that we've told ourselves. There's a difference in that and choosing to invoke it because you know that you pull power from that and that it motivates you. But it's a conscious thing. Listen, language is important. And I think that we don't give it the credit that it deserves. I'll still slip up and say things. I'll be like, oh, I want to. And my husband will say, because we have this thing where we, are always kind of coaching each other. And he'll say, well, you could choose it. Or I'll say, I should do that, or I need to do this thing. And he'll say, oh, or you could choose to do it if you want, right? Like even with my clients, they'll say like, oh, I want this. But remember, brain, literal, doesn't know the difference. It'll say, okay, she wants, got it. She's wanting, she's not getting it. She's wanting it. But if you say, I'm choosing to, your brain's like, okay, great, now we're choosing to, let's go. Another word that I caution people on is should.
Yes.
Should you? Because then it's like, I should do this. I should have more money. I should be at a different place. I should be in this. And then we just should all over ourselves, right? And that never gets us anywhere except for a place, maybe the couch with a bag of chips, because we feel so bad about ourselves and there's pain and we want to numb that out, right? So again, instead of most of us, instead of being conscious and saying, oh, I wonder why I feel like I should do this. I wonder why I feel like I should look like this, or I should eat a certain way, or I should make more money. Instead of just wondering and, like I said earlier, playing with the edges of that, we will immediately think that in some way we're inferior because we don't have it. We're not good enough. We all have this underlying belief, which is, by the way, one of the reasons we care why so many people think, like what people think about us. And I have a trick for that too, if you want to hear it. But we get into these ruts, and then instead of feeling or wondering, we just numb because that's easier until it's not.
Yeah. That's the problem. It never then just goes away.
No. Yeah. And that, to come full circle, is why we're sitting at home more depressed, dealing with these things that we don't have tools for because we've never learned them, because we could always just eat or go out or be with friends. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Love that you just brought that all the way around, by the way. And I definitely want to hear, how do you deal with people then that are saying the naysayers? Or was that the naysayers? Was that what you...
Just the one thing that I come up against a lot is that we are all so very deeply concerned about what other people think of us, and we find it almost impossible to stop. It's funny, Eleanor Roosevelt said you wouldn't be so concerned what people thought about you if you realized how seldom they do.
I love that.
Yeah, but I like to think I'm important. I like to think people are talking about me. That's my ego, But we all have this, and we all are terrified. And that is a problem because it'll create our lives, because we will try to act in a certain way to make other people happy. We will try to do certain things so they think highly of us, right? And so that's a problem, because then we get so busy becoming who they say we should be that we forget who we are. Does that make sense? Like at our core, the things that really make us happy. So, and I'm not immune to this. I want to be really clear. I am at a point in my life where, for the most part, I don't really care what people think about me, because you can't please everyone, and that is not my job on this earth by any means. I talk to the people who can hear me and that resonate with me, and everyone else, I wish them well, and it's all good. I don't put any energy toward that. Sometimes I'll get triggered, but for the most part, I got that. Where I do care is for people I care about. I care what they think about me. I care that you think I'm a good friend, that I'm there for you if you need me. I care about that. If I care about my daughter thinking I'm a good mom and that I support her. I care about my husband thinking I'm a good partner and that I'm really showing up for him. That matters to me, right? Other people outside of that, not so much, right? But most people do. So here's so let's talk about that. I have a cute tool. So Pluto, the planet. Some people will argue Pluto is a planet. Some people are saying Pluto is not a planet.
Now apparently it's
and
not,
we're declassifying it, right? It's not a planet. Pluto could give a shit what anyone thinks about Pluto, right? Pluto he's hanging out. He's doing its thing, shows up every day, spins a little. But he does not care what anyone thinks because he's too busy being Pluto. So in those moments where I am a little bit triggered, or I'll see my clients getting into these places, I'll just say, be like Pluto. Just be like Pluto. Who gives a shit what people think? Those people don't have to live your life. So why are you living your life for them?
Oh, I love that. Can I be super honest with you?
Please do.
Oh, girl. So here's the thing. I've really been thinking about this. Don't care what people think. Here's the truth. I really do freaking care. I want to be loved by every human on the planet. I'm not going to fucking lie. I do, right? And so I almost think, who doesn't want to be liked by everyone? So it's not that I don't care. If I could, oh man, I wish everyone did like me. Now, here's the thing. Because I care, I wasn't able to switch it off, because I was like, now I just feel fake because I really do care. And so I learned to switch it around and go, I do care, but I'm not allowing it to dictate how I show up every day.
That's right.
And it's freaking hard, because depending on if you're sensitive in that moment, right? If you've just been working hard, I'm really tired, and you become more sensitive when you're really tired. Let's say you haven't eaten and then something comes, and then you take in, oh yeah, I really care, and it becomes upsetting and things like that. So it is very difficult for me to always think like that. But that's where I then remind myself, I've already previously laid out who Lisa is, what she shows up to be. And then I go, even though I care and I so want to be liked right now, I want everyone to like me and stop throwing hate.
It's great.
Go back to my list.
That is the point. That, oh my gosh, that is so crucial. And you know this without even really knowing it. But here's why most of us worry so deeply about what people think. It's why we'll play the tape over and over and over when we leave the party about what happened, right? And it's because they might be right. What I mean by that is, if I don't know who I am, then they might be right. And oh God, what does that mean? Remember earlier when I said we get so busy being who they say we should be, we forget who we are? We do. So in that moment, what we're concerned about is not that they're thinking something about us that's not true, but that they may be right. And that's very scary for us. Because what if we don't want to be that way? But then we don't know. So you have to get to know yourself, right? Like I hear these, self-love is a great thing. Like I'm about to get into something. So let me just save myself for a minute. Self-love is a beautiful thing. But self-love is overrated. Let me explain what I mean by that. We struggle and we think we should love ourselves. The meme on Instagram said to love myself. The influencer said she can do all these things because she loves herself. Shit, I can't do that. I can't. And we try to fake it. We do. Oh God, we try to fake it. We'll even say it. I love who I am. I'm confident. I don't care what you think. No, you're not. And yes, you do. Right? What about this? And because I don't like to just throw something under the bus without an alternative. So what about this? What if you got to know yourself a little bit? You can do that through the stuck story. Why am I doing this? Well, it was a story I told myself. This thing happened. Let me process that in a different way. Let me write a new story. What if we just got to know ourselves a little bit better? What if instead of Netflixing and chilling, since we're all at home now, what if we just said, Lisa, what's your favorite color? Lisa, what makes you happy? What upsets you? What would your dream life be like if you could build it? You know? What's the one thing, the one talent that if you had the rest of your life to learn how to do it, you would spend doing that one thing? What if Oprah called and said, I'm going to have you on a show? What's the one thing you would say, right? What is that? If you had a billboard on Sunset Boulevard, what's the play? Get to know who you are. What like lit you up when you were a little kid? So self-discovery, then self-acceptance, right? Self-acceptance. I realize that in the past, I have pushed people away because I had this deep belief that I wasn't enough. And it was scary when they got too close because I was afraid they would see that. That's who I am. I'm a hot mess. We all are. I've said that earlier. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, we're still doing the best we can. We just want to be good mamas, good papas, make some kind of a contribution, be a good friend. Like, we just want to show up good in the world. We really do. We want to affect change. We want Black Lives to matter. We want all of these things. Like, that's who we are, right? But we try to be someone else and then we get confused. So spend some time with yourself, discover who you are, accept it. Accept it. Yeah, I'm a crazy bitch sometimes. That's who I am. And then once you accept yourself, then maybe start to love yourself.
Yeah. You had actually said earlier, oh God, I was trying to hold on to the phrase. So you'd broken it down and you said, choose, happiness. And I'm not sure if you said choose happiness, but I actually have heard you say happiness is overrated.
Yeah, it is. It is because first of all, it's not feasible because the world
to be happy all the time or to
be well, I don't think that you should try to be happy all the time because here's the thing, and this is part of the overall problem with outdated life coaching and personal development that is kind of stuck in the place where it is now. I touched on that before. We don't want to ever be unhappy. It's why we have the new planner. It's why we go outside. It's why we do these things. But it is only during those times of struggle and trying and having to figure some things out that you grow, that you get better, that you're better prepared for the next thing coming down the road. If you never have that, you never develop character. You never know who you should and shouldn't trust. You never know how to conduct yourself when you're ready to lose it. Listen, any real solution that doesn't explore our underlying feelings of shame and unworthiness and deep-seated beliefs that we hold is a distraction. It's a distraction from the real work that needs to be done. And trying to be happy all the time is a distraction. You can't understand how to be happy all the time if you don't know what makes you sad. You cannot know the light if you've never seen the darkness. So I'll tell you a funny story. When I was first coming out of my nervous breakdown, meltdown, whatever you want to call it, I started realizing I needed some spiritual connection, right? Like, at ITN, we don't just teach nutrition as physical nutrition, anything that feed you is how we look at it. So physical nutrition, but also mental nutrition for past trauma, for your mental environment, neuroscience, and then spirituality, right? Spiritual nutrition, which is for me and for the school, it's about connection. It's about relationships, right? Relationships with your friends, relationships with your community, a church, a higher power, the planet, with yourself, most importantly, right? So it's all important, and you have to have all of those to be fully nourished. That's what I'm redefining nutrition as. And so when I was going through this journey way back in the day, I realized that I had a spiritual part that was missing. And so I started reading about people that were enlightened, and I thought, well, then that's what I'll be. I really did, because I knew nothing about the spiritual world. And I just said, so I thought, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get enlightened. Like, that's the ticket. If I just go get enlightened, everything will be fine in my life, and I don't have to struggle anymore. And then, as you know, the dirty little secret is enlightenment, like happiness, is overrated because it's the journey that makes all of this worth living, right? It's the journey, it's the ups and downs. The only reason you can feel happiness is because you know what it feels like to be completely shattered on the floor, broken into. That's the only reason happiness is such a great thing. But if you'd never known the being on the floor, happiness would have no context. It would not be relevant to you in the same way.
So true. And the funny thing is I think we mistakenly make happiness as it should be our default stance.
Like enlightenment.
Like I should always be happy. So if I'm even remotely not happy,
right,
I'm now judging myself and saying, oh my God, why, and all that. The one thing I've started to do actually, so when I, when things are really struggling, when I've really hit, rock bottom with my health or anything like this, I always used to say to myself, this too shall pass, right? It's a very common phrase. It really hit me when I first heard it. So I always say that to me. It's very gentle wording. So it's like, don't worry, you know, this will pass. And I loved that. Up until I started to realize, I think I'm doing myself detrimental harm. So what I started to now do, in my really happy moments, I say to myself, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And what it does is it allows me to say, this isn't going to be here forever.
That's right.
Don't expect it to be.
Right.
You have no right to make sure that it is.
Yeah.
So this too shall pass, so enjoy it.
Exactly. And the other thing that I'll just tack on to that is that we should just be curious, and we should just stay open when we're in these tough times. And we want to say, this too shall pass. And there are times I fully acknowledge that it's a helpful thought to latch onto to kind of pull you through. I'm not going to feel this way forever, right? There is a brighter day coming. That's all great. And if you can, in that moment, where I've really found the magic to be, is just to get curious. I wonder why I'm feeling so devastated. I wonder why this hurts so much. I wonder what I'm meant to learn from this. I wonder how I can come through this and be stronger, right? Like, what are those golden nuggets that you can get out of this moment to take with you on the journey for the next time? And not all of us can do that, and not all of us can do it all of the time. I know sometimes I certainly can't. Sometimes I'm in it and I'm like, oh, what a wonder, I'm just in it, right?
Yeah.
But when we can kind of pull up the strength to do that, and we can just get curious in that moment, the most beautiful breakthroughs happen, Lisa, because all of our guards are down and all the chips are on the table. And here's what I wish we could do. This would be my wish for all of us, is that we could enjoy, and I mean that word, enjoy, and be in wonderment and stay open and receive pain the same way as we do happiness.
Ooh, all right, people are freaking out right now.
Totally losing it.
How the hell do you enjoy pain, Cynthia? How the hell do you enjoy it?
Because if we can look at how it's serving us, right? Whether it is showing us something that we should have seen in hindsight, but that we didn't, but now we know, and we'll see it in the future, right? If we can realize, and this is going to come across as trite, and I really don't mean for it to, but if we can realize in that moment that it is happening for us, right? That it's happening for us, then I think that we can get to the point. Now, listen, this is not easy work. I certainly don't do it all the time. Like, let's be super honest in this moment. And I still think, I still believe, I still know that if we could all get to that point where we could see the beauty in the pain, Like what an amazing experience that would be. And it's really hard to navigate that. So I don't want it to be misconstrued, and I don't want you to misunderstand like everything happened for you, meaning that it's positive. That's not what I mean. And if there are lessons, do you see where I'm going? And so if there are lessons, however, that you can mine from that, then take that and move forward.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Like for me, it's this fucking sucks.
Totally.
But if I'm going to go through this sucky thing, I may as well come out of it with a lesson.
Exactly.
But, that's interesting. And I actually like the word enjoy, because there's no way I freaking enjoy it. Like there's no possible way, Cynthia girl, as much as I'll try for you, if nothing else, there's no, like in my head, and maybe I'm just being fixed minded right now, but I can't see a world where I'll actually enjoy it. But, and even just, and in saying that though, I will absolutely use the word. Like, even if I don't believe it, there's something powerful. I mean, going back to what we were saying about words. So from now on, I'm not going to say this is sucky. I'm going to say, this is amazing. I enjoy this.
Try it.
I'm going to try it.
Seriously. And then text me straight away.
I will.
And straight away, that's for you. And let me know, right? But here's a really interesting experiment too. Try this or not. I'm not attached, right? I'm not attached to your outcome. But one thing that we could choose to try if we want is separate yourself from yourself when you're in these moments. Become the observer, right? It's kind of like an out-of-body experience, but not quite as cool. So sometimes I will see myself and I will be in this just horrible, hurtful, devastating place, right? And I'll just slip outside of myself and I'll look at myself as an observer. I will just switch it around. And instead of being in it, I'm observing. Not in it, but I'm observing. And I'll be like, wow, look at you. Yeah, you feel it. Oh, you feel it. Because the reason you think it's so bad and it hurts so bad is that the man has left, the woman has left, they're never coming back, the world is never going to be the same, you lost the job, the money is gone, the stories. Do you see? So it's the stories that you're telling yourself that's feeding these feelings of pain and hurt. It's not saying you shouldn't have them. It's not saying, well, you shouldn't think that. It's not saying that you should be dismissive. But what I'm saying is, if we can get to the point where we're like, oh gosh, yeah, you're feeling this way because the man's gone and he's never coming back and you're never going to find another one. Really? Just wonder. Because you might be like, yes, really? And that's okay too. But what we're trying to do here is just create white spaces of opportunity. That's what I call them, white spaces of opportunity. So that instead of just reacting, we can consciously choose how we feel, the stories we tell, the action we take. But if we close off and we refuse to open up to the possibility that we could be in pain and still be in awe and wonderment of ourselves and still notice the stories and the thoughts, then basically what we're saying is I am who I am and I'm not interested in changing, and I want to kind of feel shitty when I feel shitty, and I don't want to get anything, I don't want to have anything better come of that. And that's just settling. And in a lot of ways, you just are wallowing in victimhood. And I just can't get behind that long term for you or anyone, to be quite honest.
Ooh, girl, where can people find everything that you've been talking about, your courses, your curriculum, if they want to dive deeper into this work?
Yeah. So transformationalnutrition.com is our institute where we teach all of this. And my website, Cynthia Garcia. We actually have a stuck story quiz. So there's like 5 core stories that we all operate by. One of them is a perfectionist, there's a pleaser, there's a victim. Anyways, I won't spoil the whole thing, but if you're interested in taking that, and you are going to go take it because I know what you have, you can go and take the quiz, and then you can download this whole stuck story. I created a whole book, and you can just download it for free and work through it. And yeah.
Guys, go check out this woman. She's freaking amazing. She dropped so many knowledge bombs today. So rewind, take a pen, write things down. Follow her, go over, do the stuck story quiz. And if you're not following me, guys, follow me at Lisa Bilyeu. And if this episode brought you value, please do subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Comment below what was the best thing that she said. And until next time, be the hero of your own life. Peace out, guys. What up, guys? Thanks so much for watching this video. If you'd like another dose of badassery, make sure you watch this video right here or this one right here, because I know you'll like them. But hey, also, while you're here, guys, you might as well click that subscribe button down there so you don't miss any future episodes. And until next time, be the hero of your own life. Peace out.